You know, I've always been the guy who fixes things. Trucks, roofs, marriages, whatever. 28 years with Lisa, 2 kids off to college. Mortgage almost paid off. I figured we'd earned the right to coast a little. I'm 51, still pull 12-hour days at the shop, come home greasy but proud. Lisa stopped working when the boys were little, said she wanted to be there for them. I never argued. Seemed fair. Last spring things got weird. Little stuff at first. She'd be on her phone and flip it over when I walked in the room. Started dressing sharper for girls' nights that somehow always ran past midnight. I chalked it up to empty nest boredom. Told myself every long marriage hits a speed bump. Then came that Friday in early June. I'd been slammed at the shop, transmission job that turned into a nightmare. Tried calling her around 4, nothing. Texted at 6, radio silence. By 9 I'm heating up leftover lasagna alone, figuring maybe her phone died. 11:15, the garage door finally goes up. In walks Lisa, heels in her hand, hair all messed up, lipstick half gone. She drops her purse on the counter, looks me dead in the eye, and starts laughing. Not drunk laughing, cold laughing. She says, "You know what, Mark? I had a one-night stand tonight. Some guy from that new bar downtown. And honestly, I'd do it again tomorrow if I felt like it." Just like that. No shaking voice, no tears, no, "I'm so sorry." Just this smug little smirk, like she'd won something. I'm standing there with a fork in my hand, lasagna getting cold, and I feel my stomach drop straight through the floor. 28 years. 2 kids. The house we painted together. And she's grinning like she just told me she got a good deal on groceries. I didn't yell. Didn't throw anything. Just looked at her for a long second and said, "Okay." Then I sat back down and finished eating. She stood there waiting for the explosion that never came. After a minute, she muttered something about being tired and went upstairs. I rinsed my plate, poured 2 fingers of bourbon, and sat on the back porch till 3 in the morning staring at the yard I mowed every Saturday for 2 decades. Couldn't even cry. Just hollow. Looking back, that was the exact moment I stopped being her husband and started being the guy who was going to make sure she never saw another dime of my money without a fight. Next morning, I was up at 5 like always. Coffee brewing, dogs fed, truck loaded for the shop. Lisa usually sleeps till 8, 9 on weekends. Expects me to bring her a mug in bed with 2 sugars and a splash of that vanilla creamer she likes. Not that day. I drank my coffee black, left the house dead quiet, and opened the shop an hour early. Texted my oldest boy, Tyler. He's 25, lives in Denver. Just said, "Call me when you can." Didn't tell him why yet. Around 10, Lisa finally blows up my phone. 8 missed calls, a dozen texts. "Where's my coffee?" "Hello? Mark, this isn't funny." I let it ring out. At lunch, I finally picked up. She starts in, "What the heck is wrong with you?" I said, real calm, "You made yourself pretty clear last night. Figured you don't need me playing butler anymore." Silence on her end. Then the fake tears start. I was drunk. I didn't mean it. It was just talk. Classic Lisa move. Say the ugliest thing imaginable, then act shocked when somebody believes it. I told her, "We'll talk when I get home." Hung up before she could spin it further. That afternoon, I did something I'd never done in 28 years. I stopped at the bank on the way home. Walked straight to the branch manager, Donna, known her since high school football games. Told her I needed every account statement for the last 3 years. Plus, I wanted to pull Lisa off as an authorized user on every card and account I could. Donna raised an eyebrow but didn't ask questions. Small-town banks still know when a man's face means business. By the time I pulled in the driveway that evening, I had a fat envelope of paperwork under the seat, and the locks on our joint checking already changed. Lisa met me at the door in her robe, eyes puffy like she'd been crying all day. Started with the "I'm so sorry" routine, reaching for my arm. I stepped around her, went to the kitchen, cracked a beer. She followed, voice shaking. "Can we please talk about this?" I looked her square in the eye and said, "Yeah, we're going to talk. But first you're going to listen." That was the first time in our whole marriage I saw the color actually drain from her face. I sat down at the kitchen table, same oak table we bought when Tyler was still in diapers, and slid the envelope from the bank across to her. Told her to open it. She did, real slow, like she already knew something bad was inside. Her eyes scanned the first page and went wide. "What is this?" "That," I said, "is every transfer you've been making to an account I didn't know existed. 43 grand in the last 14 months. Little chunks, 500 here, 1200 there. Always on days I was buried at the shop. Real slick. She started shaking her head before I even finished. That's for the boy's future, investments. I was going to surprise. Stop. I held up my hand. The account's in your name only, at a bank 2 towns over. No joint savings we built for 30 years, and you've been bleeding it dry. Don't insult me with the surprise garbage. The fake tears dried up real quick. That smirk from last night tried to creep back, but it couldn't quite stick. She went with anger instead. So what? You're you spying on me now? Nope. Just finally paying attention. Then I laid the second bomb. I also froze the home equity line this morning. The one you opened last fall without my signature, by the way. Bank's launching a fraud investigation next week. Her mouth actually opened and closed like a fish out of water. She'd forged my name on a $120,000 line of credit. I only found out because Donna flagged it when I asked for full records. Lisa had already pulled 48 grand in cash advances. Gone. No trail except a couple Venmos to someone named J.R. I leaned back and took a long pull of my beer. So here's where we are, Lisa. You can keep the one-night stand. I don't even care anymore. But you're not walking away with the house, the savings, and whatever's left of my retirement while you laugh about it. That ends tonight. She tried the yelling then, called me controlling, paranoid, every name in the book. I just let her run out of steam. When she finally stopped, I said, pack a bag. You're staying at your sister's until we sort this out with lawyers. She laughed, bitter and sharp. You can't kick me out of my own house. Watch me, I said, and walked upstairs to change the code on the garage door before she could blink. She didn't pack a bag that night. She called her sister Karen, cried on speakerphone loud enough for the neighbors to hear, then stormed out with nothing but her purse and the clothes on her back. Slammed the door so hard the pictures rattled. I didn't flinch. Just changed every lock code in the house from my phone while her taillights disappeared down the street. Slept like a dead man for the first time in months. Monday morning I called my buddy Ron, retired cop, now runs a little PI side gig for guys exactly like me. Told him the short version. He said, Mark, you sure you want to know the rest? I told him I already knew the part that mattered. I just needed proof that would hold up when the judge asked questions. Ron started digging that same day. By Wednesday, I had my first real laugh in weeks. Ron texted me a photo. Lisa's one-night stand guy? Turns out his name is Jared Reynolds, Jr., 38, twice divorced salesman from Columbus. Lives in a rented condo paid for by, guess who? My home equity line. There's Lisa's car in his parking lot at 2:14 a.m. the night she came home bragging. Ron got the building's security feed. Clear as day. But the real kicker came Friday. Ron calls me at the shop, says, Buddy, you sitting down? Tells me Lisa never closed that secret account. In fact, she moved another $4,200 into it the day after I froze everything else. Tried to pull cash from an ATM with a card I supposedly canceled. Bank flagged it, froze the withdrawal, and called me direct because I'd already filed the fraud report. I just started laughing into the phone, grease all over my hands, customers staring. Ron goes, What's so funny? I said, She still thinks she's smarter than me. That afternoon I walked into the best divorce attorney in the county. Tom Hargrove, shark in a cheap suit, hates cheaters worse than I do. Gave him the bank envelope, the PI photos, the forged home equity paperwork. Tom looks it all over, leans back, and says, Mark, she's gonna leave this marriage with the clothes she's wearing and whatever's in her checking account. Maybe not even that. I nodded, felt something loosen in my chest I didn't know was knotted. On the way home I stopped and bought the good bourbon. Poured a double, sat on the same porch, and for the first time in 30 years I didn't care what time Lisa came home. Because she wasn't coming home. Not ever again. 2 weeks later Lisa tried the big reconciliation play. Showed up on my doorstep on a Sunday morning with Karen in tow, both of them dressed like they were heading to church. Lisa had her hair done, makeup perfect, holding a bakery box like we were still the couple who did lazy Sunday donuts. She started crying before I even opened the screen door all the way. Mark, please. I made a terrible mistake. I've ended everything with Jared. I'll go to counseling, whatever you want. Karen's nodding behind her like a backup singer. I just stood there in my jeans and coffee mug, letting the silence stretch until it got uncomfortable. Then I said, You already ended it with Jared? Funny. Ron saw you leaving his place Thursday night at 11:30. The tears stopped like someone flipped a switch. Karen's mouth actually looked embarrassed. Lisa tried to push past me into the house. We need to talk inside. I blocked the doorway with my shoulder. Nothing left to talk about in there. My lawyer sent your lawyer the petition Friday. You'll get served this week. Her face twisted. You're really doing this? Over one mistake? 43 grand to your secret account isn't a mistake, Lisa. Neither is forging my name for a 120 grand line of credit. Or telling me to my face you'd cheat again. That's not a mistake. That's who you are now. She called me a cold-hearted bastard. I told me I'd die alone. I just smiled the first real smile I'd felt in months and said, maybe, but I'll die with my money and my self-respect. Closed the door while she was still yelling. That same afternoon, I got a call from the bank. Lisa had gone in person, sweet-talked some new teller, and tried to withdraw 20 grand in cashier's checks from our old joint savings. Teller remembered my fraud alert, stalled her, called the manager. Lisa left empty-handed and furious. Tom, my attorney, told me that little stunt just handed us criminal charges on a silver platter. Attempted theft after the fraud report was filed. He said, keep letting her swing, Mark. She's hanging herself. So I did. I stayed quiet, kept working, kept the house spotless. Even started cooking real meals again, steaks on the grill, potatoes the way my dad taught me. Slept better than I had in years. Some nights I'd sit out back with the bourbon and think, man, I should have seen it sooner. But mostly I just felt free. The papers hit her at Karen's house on a Tuesday morning. Tom told me the process server found her in yoga pants, hair in a messy bun, eating cereal straight from the box. She signed for them with a shaky hand, then apparently threw the whole bowl at the wall when she read the first page. By noon my phone was exploding. 47 missed calls, voicemails that went from begging to screaming to threatening in under an hour. I let them all go to the mailbox that was already full anyway. Her lawyer, a slick kid named Bryce who advertises on billboards, called Tom that afternoon demanding an emergency meeting. Tom laughed so hard he put the guy on speaker so I could hear it at the shop. Told Bryce we'd see them at the temporary hearing in 10 days. No need to meet early unless Lisa wanted to confess to felony fraud and save the judge some time. Word travels fast in a town this size. By Friday, half the guys at the diner were giving me nods like I'd won the lottery. Old man Jenkins clapped me on the shoulder and said, heard your wife tried to rob you blind. Proud you grew a pair, son. I just grinned and paid for his coffee. That weekend, Ron dropped off the full PI binder, 300 pages, color photos, receipts, hotel keycard logs going back 18 months. Jared wasn't a one-night stand. He was the grand finale of a whole parade. Turns out Lisa had been meeting him and wiring him money ever since our youngest left for college. My home equity cash paid for his Vegas trips, his new truck lease, even the down payment on that condo. There's one photo I still can't look at for long. Lisa and Jared on some rooftop bar last Christmas Eve, her in the red dress I bought her, him kissing her neck while she's laughing into her phone. I was home alone that night, thinking she was at Karen's ornament party. I gave the binder to Tom and told him use every damn page. Monday morning the bank called again. Lisa had tried to open 3 new credit cards in my name online over the weekend. All denied instantly because Tom had already put fraud alerts on every bureau known to man. Each attempt got flagged and forwarded straight to the prosecutor, who was now very interested in talking to her. I started to feel almost bad for her. Almost. The temporary hearing was held on a humid Thursday in July, the kind of day the courthouse AC can't quite keep up with. I wore the only suit I own, navy blue, bought for Tyler's graduation. Lisa showed up in a cream blazer and skirt, hair blown out, looking like she was heading to brunch instead of a courtroom. Jared wasn't with her. Smart guy finally figured out the money train had derailed. The judge was Patricia Conway, late 60s, no nonsense, raised 4 boys herself. Everyone in the county knows if you waste her time, you're gonna regret it. Bryce, Lisa's billboard lawyer, started with the waterworks script. Your Honor, my client is a devoted wife of 28 years who made one emotional mistake during a midlife crisis. Judge Conway let him talk for about 45 seconds before she held up a hand. Counsel, I've read the filings. I'm looking at forged signatures, secret accounts, and $91,000 that mysteriously left the marital estate. Save the Hallmark speech. Bryce turned red. Tom stood up calm as ever, slid the PI binder across the table like he was passing the salt. Your Honor, we have time-stamped photos, bank records, and hotel receipts showing the affair was ongoing for 18 months and directly funded by marital assets obtained through fraud. He clicked the remote. The projector lit up with Lisa and Jared on that Christmas Eve rooftop. A couple of the bailiffs actually whistled under their breath. Lisa stared at the screen like she was watching her own funeral. Judge Conway flipped through the binder, eyebrows climbing higher with every page. After 10 minutes, she looked over her glasses at Lisa. Mrs. Coleman, do you dispute the authenticity of these documents? Lisa tried to speak, but nothing came out. Bryce jumped in with some garbage about privacy rights. The judge shut him down fast. Son, when you steal from your husband and forge his name, you forfeit the right to privacy. She banged the gavel and issued the temporary orders right there. Exclusive use of the house to me. Lisa gets $1,200 a month temporary support, about half what she wanted, until the final hearing. All remaining accounts frozen except my business and personal checking. Lisa ordered to turn over every password, every device, every hidden account number within 7 days or face contempt. Walking out, Lisa tried to grab my sleeve in the hallway. Mark, please, we can still stop this. I looked down at her hand like it was a stranger's and said, you stopped it the night you laughed in my face. Pulled away and kept walking. Felt the eyes of every man in that courthouse on my back, and every one of them thinking the same thing. Good for him. She missed the 7-day deadline by 4 hours. Turned over 2 old phones and a half-written list of passwords like that was supposed to impress anybody. Tom filed the contempt motion the next morning, and Judge Conway set a show cause hearing for the following Friday. Translation: show up and explain why you shouldn't go to jail, Lisa. In the meantime, Ron kept the meter running. He followed her to a storage unit she'd rented under Karen's name. Inside, boxes of designer handbags, a safe full of jewelry I'd never seen, and this one made me laugh out loud, my old coin collection from when I was a kid. The one I thought got lost in a move 15 years ago. Worth maybe 30 grand now. She was planning to bolt with it. Ron got photos of everything, plus the lease signed in her handwriting. Tom added that to the growing pile. 2 days before the contempt hearing, Lisa tried one last desperate play. She showed up at the shop right at closing, eyes red, no makeup, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. My guys pretended to keep working, but every one of them was listening. She started crying, real tears this time, I think, and said, Mark, I'm scared. They're talking jail. I can't go to jail. Please drop the charges. I'll sign whatever you want, just make it stop. I wiped my hands on a rag, slow, and looked at her for a long minute. You remember that night you came home smirking, told me you'd do it again? I remember every word. I remember thinking my wife died somewhere along the line, and I never got to bury her. This is me burying what's left. She just stood there sobbing while my guys stared at the floor. Finally, she whispered, I hate you. Turned around and walked out. Friday came. Courtroom packed, word spreads. Lisa walks in with Bryce looking like she hadn't slept in days. Judge Conway doesn't waste time. Mrs. Coleman, you were ordered to produce all financial records and devices. Did you comply fully? Bryce starts tap dancing. Judge cuts him off, turns to the bailiff, and says, take her into custody. 30 days, or until she purges contempt, whichever comes first. Lisa let out this sound I'll never forget, half scream, half sob, as the deputies cuffed her right there. She looked straight at me like I was supposed to save her. I didn't move, didn't blink. As they let her out, she was yelling my name over and over. I just sat there until the doors closed behind her. Then I went outside, got in my truck, and for the first time in almost 30 years I cried like a damn baby. 30 days in county lockup did something to her I didn't expect. It broke the smirk clean off her face. She got out on a Tuesday in late August, ankle bracelet and all, because the judge tacked on electronic monitoring until final trial. Karen picked her up. I saw the photo on Ron's update. Lisa in oversized sunglasses, hair flat, carrying a clear plastic bag with her belongings. She looked 60 instead of 49. 2 days later, Bryce called Tom begging for a settlement conference. Tom said sure, but only if it happens in his office and Lisa shows up in person. I agreed, mostly because I wanted to see what was left of the woman I used to love. She walked in wearing the same cream blazer from the temporary hearing, now hanging loose on her. No makeup, nails chewed down. Sat across the conference table from me, and couldn't look higher than my chin level. Bryce slid over an offer. She'd take $30,000 lump sum, the Honda, and walk away from everything else: house, retirement, business. In exchange, she'd plead guilty to misdemeanor theft and pay restitution on a 5-year plan. Tom didn't even blink. He slid our counter back. $0 spousal support. She keeps the Honda, which I'd already paid off years ago. She signs a full confession to felony fraud, and she gets 5 years formal probation. Plus, she returns every coin, every handbag, every piece of jewelry from that storage unit, or the DA files the original felony charges tomorrow morning. Bryce started sputtering. Lisa cut him off, voice hoarse. Just give me the pen. She signed every page without reading half of them. When she got to the quitclaim deed that gives me the house free and clear, her hand shook so bad the signature looks drunk. Last page was the divorce decree itself, 90-day waiting period waived because of the criminal plea. She finally looked me in the eye. Are you happy now? I thought about it for a second. I'm not unhappy, I said. That's more than I expected 6 months ago. She nodded like that was the worst thing I could have told her. We all stood up. At the door she paused, whispered, I really did love you once, Mark. I didn't answer. Just held the door open so she could leave with whatever was left of her pride. The judge signed the final decree on a quiet Wednesday in October. No hearing, no ceremony, just a clerk stamping papers and mailing them out like junk mail. 28 years reduced to 8 pages, and a deputy handed me in a manila envelope. I took it home, set it on the kitchen table, and stared at it for a long time. Then I opened the fridge, grabbed the last beer, and carried both out to the back porch. Sat in the same chair I used the night she bragged about Jarrett. Drank half the bottle in one pull. The house was too quiet, but it was my quiet now. A week later, the coins came back in a padded mailer from the prosecutor's office. Every last Morgan dollar and walking Liberty half I'd collected as a kid. The jewelry and handbags got auctioned off by the court to cover part of the restitution. Lisa's cut after fees? About 11 grand. She wired it to my account with no note. I used it to buy a new zero-turn mower and a bigger grill. Felt poetic. Tyler and our youngest, Brendan, flew in for Thanksgiving. First holiday without their mom at the table. I was braced for awkward, but the boys walked in, hugged me hard, and Tyler said, Dad, we read the whole file. We're proud of you. Brendan just nodded, eyes wet, and we didn't talk about her the rest of the weekend. We grilled steaks, watched football, drank too much, and laughed louder than we had in years. Christmas came and went. I put up a small tree for the first time in decades, just lights and a couple ornaments the boys made in grade school. Didn't feel lonely, felt peaceful. One night in January, I was scrolling junk on my phone and saw Lisa had finally updated her Facebook after months of silence. New profile picture, her in a cheap apartment kitchen, hair dyed some weird red, smiling like nothing ever happened. Caption read, Fresh start, new chapter. I stared at it for maybe 10 seconds, then blocked her and shut the phone off. Some chapters you don't need to keep reading. It's been almost 6 months now since the papers were signed. Spring's rolling in again, same as when this whole mess started. The shop's busier than ever. Word got around that Mark Coleman doesn't roll over, and half the county wants to shake my hand or buy me a beer. I take the checks, tip my hat, and keep turning wrenches. Work never betrayed me. The house is paid off, title clean in my name only. I ripped out the old carpet in the bedroom, too many memories soaked into it, and laid new hardwood myself. Took me 3 weekends and a lot of cussing, but when it was done I walked barefoot across it with a cold beer and felt like I reclaimed the place. I date a little. Nothing serious. There's a widow named Deb who brings me casseroles after church and laughs at my dumb jokes. We go to dinner sometimes, sit on the same porch, watch the stars come out. She doesn't push, I don't rush. Feels good to be wanted for who I am right now, not who I was 20 years ago. Every now and then I still get a random text from an unknown number. Always Lisa, always drunk or desperate. I miss you. This is harder than I thought. Do you ever think about me? I never answer. Delete and block. She made her choices. I made mine. The boys call every Sunday. Tyler's getting married next fall and asked me to stand up with him. Said, Dad, you taught us what a man does when life kicks him in the teeth. I want you next to me when I promise to do better. Damn near made this old grease monkey tear up in the middle of Napa Auto Parts. So here I am, 52 coming up fast, stronger than I was at 40, bank account healthier than it's been since the kids were born, and sleeping through the night without wondering whose bed my wife was in. That smug grin she wore that Friday night. Gone forever. Replaced by the look every man in this county knows now. The look of a woman who finally realized the hard-working guy she threw away wasn't as soft or as stupid as she bet on. I still mow the yard every Saturday, grill steaks when I feel like it, and pour 2 fingers of the good bourbon when the sun drops. Some nights I raise that glass toward the sky and say, real quiet, "You wanted freedom, Lisa. Hope it keeps you warm." Then I drink it down, turn off the porch light, and sleep like a man who won. And fellas, that's exactly what happened when she woke up expecting coffee in bed. She got served with the rest of her life instead. If you enjoyed this story, hit that thumbs up and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Not subscribed yet? Smash the subscribe button and ring the bell to catch the next one. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next story.